Imagine the year is 2026. A sudden geopolitical crisis shuts down the Strait of Hormuz. In an instant, the world's most critical maritime trade route goes entirely quiet. Looking at this map of Middle Eastern export flows, the immediate problem becomes visible. The vessels trapped behind that blockade are carrying roughly 30 to 50% of the world's traded urea, along with the liquefied natural gas required to manufacture more. Thousands of miles away in Punjab, India, farmers are weeks away from the crucial Kharif sowing season. The factories they rely on to feed these fields suddenly halt production. A maritime freeze in the Persian Gulf triggers an immediate global food emergency. This diagram shows exactly why. Modern agriculture requires three non-negotiable elements to survive: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, known collectively as NPK. This chemical blend is the invisible lifeline holding billions of harvests together. Because no major agricultural economy is entirely self-sufficient, whoever controls the flow of these three elements controls whether a population eats. This global map compares fertilizer import vulnerabilities. A Gulf shock hits differently. The United States faces moderate risk, with 94% a fraction of their nitrogen needs. Focusing on India and Bangladesh here on the map reveals the most extreme exposure. These nations rely on the blocked Gulf routes for up to 70% of their urea and DAP imports. When Hormuz closes, global fertilizer prices instantly spike between 28 and 65%. To shield its farmers from ruin, the Indian government absorbs that shock, bleeding up to 1.9 lakh crore rupees annually. But those massive subsidies only mask the fragility of the system. They hide a much deeper structural failure playing out in the dirt itself. Look away from the government balance sheets and down into the Indian farmland. The physical soil is exhausted. Decades of heavy government subsidies made chemicals like urea artificially cheap. And farmers responded by drastically over-applying nitrogen to their fields, ignoring the natural biological limits of the land. This graphic traces a cycle known as the doom loop. Subsidized overuse kills the essential microbes in the soil. Dead soil leads to falling crop yields. To combat the falling yields, farmers are forced to apply even more imported chemicals just to break even. This chart tracks that decay in real terms. Historically, 1 kilogram of applied fertilizer in India yielded 16 kilograms of grain. Today, that return ratio is collapsing. The land requires more input to produce less output. Sustaining that chemical addiction requires a staggering physical volume of product, shipped across oceans in 1,000-kilogram bags, year after year. India is trapped paying exorbitant global prices to import chemicals that slowly sterilize its sovereign land. On the ground, the math is brutal. Smallhold farmers find themselves squeezed between dying soil and highly expensive inputs, locking millions into an inescapable debt trap. When those farms fail, the shockwaves hit 1.4 billion people almost instantly. A drop in grain yields creates severe shortages in poultry feed, which rapidly drives up the cost of basic goods. The ultimate impact lands right at the local market, where everyday consumers face skyrocketing grocery bills and rapid inflation. Combine a sudden global supply shock with decades of local soil degradation, and you get an immediate national distress event. Surviving the next geopolitical tremor requires abandoning the input-heavy model entirely. Subsidies can no longer fix the problem. The first step is technological triage. Nations must scale up domestic green ammonia facilities, invest in alternative feedstocks, and expand production of highly efficient nano-urea. But the long-term cure is biological. Farmers have to shift toward regenerative agriculture and precision farming, naturally restoring the nutrient balance in the earth so the soil can do the work itself. Achieving true Atmanirbhar, absolute self-reliance, demands ending the dependency cycle entirely. Replacing foreign chemicals with domestic production is a surface-level fix if the soil remains chemically addicted and biologically dead. Food sovereignty requires resilient supply chains and living farmland. That is the only way to ensure no distant maritime choke point can ever dictate what ends up on dinner tables worldwide.